Hi, everyone, and welcome to Lurking for Legends, a live video cast where we talk with people from all walks of the publishing industry. I'm Christy Stratus, historical suspense and historical fantasy author, and my awesome co-hosts are epic fantasy author Richard H. Stevens and science fiction author David M. Kelly. Lurking for Legends is an interactive broadcast, so we encourage viewers to chime in with questions for our guests or comment on what you hear in the show. So tonight we are very excited to have Derek Borne, a Canadian author who writes sci-fi with humor and heart. So welcome, Derek. We're excited to have you.
Welcome, Derek.
Finally get to be on.
I've been trying to wrangle you for like months and months. Maybe.
Yeah, we finally get to meet you. You've followed your feed for a couple of years now, I guess, through different.
And I pop into your editing videos every once in a while.
Yeah. But. And you actually don't live that far away from me, but we've never actually met.
Oh, really?
So we'll have to remedy that.
It's only half an hour away from each other, I believe.
Exactly, yeah.
So why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself first, and then we'll get into what everybody's been up to since the last show.
Sure. So I have a superhero spy series that was my baby to begin with the writing world. From the age of 14 to 17, I wrote it as a trilogy. And then just kept up with writing over the years, fell in love with it even more. By 2017, I had rewritten the first book, published it on Amazon, and kind of the rest is history. But my superhero spies have a spot in my heart. I don't know if I'll ever return to them or not, but that series also opened up my Dino Riff series, which is where a couple of teens get trapped in dinosaur times, have to find their way back home. Meanwhile, an evil corporation is pulling dinosaurs into the present for nefarious purposes. I like to use the word nefarious. So,
well, that sounds fantastic.
It does.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun.
Yeah, it all sounds.
Anything with dinosaurs, it's got to be.
It's true, right?
You can't really lose, can you?
I've told people that I had a friend ask me to do an article for young adult dinosaur books. Okay. And she said, you can use your own, but, if you can find any others out there. And I always knew of Dinotopia, which I do have some elements of that in my Dino Riff series too. Not necessarily with talking dinosaurs. That's not a part of this. But I searched and I searched and I searched. And I thought, you know what? There isn't really much for young adult books with dinosaurs. So I'm now trying to expand that corner of my universe with some of my future projects.
That is really cool.
Yeah.
I think dinosaur stuff is always popular. It always seems to, like, when a movie comes out or a new series on TV or something starts, everyone is drawn to it.
Yeah, Jurassic Park and Jurassic World has kept the love alive.
Yeah, for sure. Jurassic Park, even when that comes back suddenly and they put it in 3D or something, everyone flocks to the theaters.
It's true. Yeah, I would love to go to like an orchestra or symphony where all they do is just like Jurassic Park music.
That would be really cool. Oh my goodness.
You know how they do like the Star Wars stuff? Just Jurassic Park all night. I'm there.
It's funny, I went down to the Corvette Museum in Kentucky several years ago, and I'm just like driving down the highway. I don't know what highway it was, but it's one that leads straight into Bowling Green. And we kind of like came around a corner, and it's like on the right hand side, all we see are these dinosaurs, giant life-size dinosaurs in the field, and it's like, what? What just happened? And it's some kind of theme park or something they've got there,
That's fun.
Well, a lot of people might not know Derek as not that I know him well, but I follow him and I see he's got a nice singing voice, and he also does nice cool voices. And I see with your Dino Rift, and you showed me just before we came on air that you have a little friend with you, and you do his voice perfectly. And I'm thinking, wouldn't that be neat for you to do actually your Dino Rift in characters with hand puppets?
It would be very interesting. That's for sure.
That's brilliant.
There's videos of me on TikTok where I go up to drive-throughs, and all of a sudden, as I'm ordering, I go, "Hi, can I get a burger with some flies? I mean fries, please." The first girl was kind of like, "Yeah, you're not making my day," and then the second lady, I did that too. She was like, "That is awesome."
Yeah, it depends on what kind of mood they're in, I guess.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. So before we get going, what's new with you, Christy?
Oh, well, I with Corrupted Magic, which is the thing that's always new with me, the final episode is going to post on Patreon and Kindle Vella on Monday. So the book
Oh,
is
wow.
ending. It's very
Yay.
exciting.
Nice.
Yay!
Congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you. It's awesome. I'm so happy to have, I mean, it's always a little bit sad when a book ends, but at the same time, it's just exciting. And I know I'm heading into book 3.
And
So
you turned epic.
I turned epic. I
You're
wrote
officially epic now. Yes.
yeah, over
Nice.
100,000 words, which I didn't think I was capable of, honestly. I just didn't think I could do it at all. Most of my books are like 55,000, 60,000 words. So that was really exciting. But yeah, so that's the big thing that's new with me. So I am already starting to write book 3, which is going to be called Prohibited Magic. And I've also been working on like a totally different project. I just want to submit to a particular press that I really like, a small press, and just see if they accept it. It is a science fiction type of thing. Yeah, so it's very, very different for me.
Join the sci-fi side.
Yeah.
Well, I got her into the epic fantasy side, so now she's going over to the dark side. She's going over the dark side now.
So yeah, I'll be half and half. I'll be half of everything. I'll have too many halves. It'll be too many. So
that's awesome.
yeah, that's
competition.
Do every genre. It's fine.
I know.
Exactly. Competition.
Do whatever you want.
Multi-genre, pretty much multi-genre at this point. Thank you, Wanda. I'm excited.
Hi, Wanda.
So before we get to Dave, I just want to ask Dave and Christy, especially because they're my co-hosts. Do you guys see the running banter on the side now, or do you not see that either?
I didn't, but I do see it now because I just spotted that I was on private chat instead of the comments tab.
Okay, good. You're seeing it, all right.
So, but I am seeing it now, yeah.
Okay, just
because I was thinking, where is everybody?
Yeah, a lot of times one of us will come in here and there's welcome. Or sorry, Neil said good evening. So we generally like to acknowledge people when they come. But, I don't know if you guys are seeing him or not. So Anita's here, and Hillary's here, and Wanda's here, and Neil's here, and
hi everybody who I missed.
Yeah, don't be afraid to chime in whenever you want. Let us know how you're doing, and you have questions for anyone, please feel free to ask. So until that happens, Dave, what's new in the Joe Ballon world?
Well, Joe Ballon is new actually. I published the 4th book last year and swore I would never write another word of Joe Ballon. I'd kind of like done everything I could with him, and now I'm writing a prequel.
Wow, look at that.
So completely unplanned. I just got this kind of cool idea, and so yeah, we're back in Joe's world, and as usual, he's in a whole lot of trouble.
He wanted to be in trouble. He's insistent on it.
Yeah.
Do you kind of write him after yourself, or?
Yeah, kind of.
You write what you know, right?
Yeah.
Exactly. So I'm currently about 9,000 words into it. So I'm not exactly sure how long this is going to be. I'm thinking perhaps a novella. I'm thinking maybe. Hi, Frank. Welcome. So maybe a novella. But the trouble is, I'm also partway through the 2nd book in the Hyperion Jones series as well. So they're kind of like fighting for attention. And at the same time, I'm also doing the final edit, I hope, cross fingers, on Logan 3.
Wow, you're busy.
So yeah, I'm kind of busy.
Yeah, wow. Full roster.
Logan's got to the point where I'm kind of sick of seeing him now. I just, want him to go away. No, I've seen enough of you.
Yeah, I find that happens. I get to the end of a trilogy, and I'm thinking, I got to get this finished so I can move on to what else is going around in my head. Right now, I'm writing a 4-book series, and that's made it even worse. And the books are like twice the size of my regular book, so it's almost like a 6-book series. So I can't wait to get this book written.
Yeah, when I did the 4th one in the Joe Ballon series, it was like I started it. I had a good idea for what I wanted to do with it, but as I'm writing it, I'm thinking, wow, I think I've kind of like balanced everything out. It's like what's left, and I really had to pull out the stops to kind of like fill it up with new kind of like Ballonisms and one-liners and all the rest of it.
Sure.
Which is why I was sure I was never going to write anymore, but here I am.
Awesome, that's good.
What about you, Richard?
Yeah, so me, I was actually, I just received notification I was nominated for the Bernice Adams Literary Award for contributions to the local
Nice.
literary scene.
Oh,
And that
wow.
includes co-hosting.
Congratulations.
Wonderful.
Yeah, and that, you guys have helped me do that because that includes co-hosting this video cast. So,
Oh, that's
and
great.
mentoring writers who are starting down the road to becoming published authors. We've all been in that spot where it's such a daunting thing. I think that's
Oh,
a
yeah.
big hurdle for a lot of writers that want to become writers and they just don't do it. I think it's the actual hurdle of getting published. I think that's just such a daunting prospect. So
Sure.
that those awards are up on May 11th. So I'm attending a gala in suit and everything else, which is totally out of my comfort zone, but it is what it is. And
You
I'm
have to
just
wear a big white wig.
yeah. I'm gonna come in on a dragon, and maybe I'll dress up as one of those dinosaurs and see how long.
There you go.
Yep.
I'm 65,000 words into book 4 of my epic fantasy Hike of the Guardian series, and the book's called When Legends Rise. So I'm probably not quite halfway through it yet. And this month marks the beginning of the 2023 book signing tour. So I'll be at the indoor night market at Victoria Park Golf Club in Guelph on Saturday, April 22nd from 5 to 9. And on Sunday, April 23rd, the next day, I'll be selling and signing books at the Book Fair and Bookish Market at Stratford Country Club from 1 to 6. So if you're in Southern Ontario, I'd love to see you there.
You might see me there.
Oh, that would be awesome.
Hey.
It's good. There'd be a lot of local. Are you actually selling there?
No, I didn't even know that was happening.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I don't know if they can still get
I'm
you.
not as connected as you, Richard.
I can send you links if you want to see if you can get in there still. I'm not sure if they're still.
Yeah, I can
Look
take
at
a
that.
look.
Wanda's going to be on both of them. Good. We'll see Wanda.
Nice.
Cool.
I should post that there so everyone knows what I'm talking about. I see it come up, but no one else can see that come up. That's awesome. I do a few book events with Wanda. It's great. And next month's library will take place on Tuesday, May 9th. So it'll be the first Tuesday of next month, and I will tell you all a little bit more about that when we finish this show. But so I guess that's enough about us, and we're going to start in with Derek's book, and we're going to let Derek set up.
You'll just give me a moment.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm the narrator, so I'm easy. I didn't know how to dress up as a narrator, but I know I follow Derek on different feeds, and I know he always wears these hats. He looks a lot better in these hats than I do, but I got a hat.
You look good.
Oh, look at that guy.
Oh,
good.
good.
Oh no.
Looking very spiffy.
So we'll let you set up your book, Derek, and then I'm the narrator, and I'll take it away when you're ready.
All right. So in Dino Rift, there are the main characters of Cameron and Vivian. They are just a couple of teenagers in Utah that just want to have basically be rebellious teenagers for a night. And instead of going to a pool party, they decide, hey, you know what? Let's try to break into the local dinosaur museum called Soracor. So they get there. They end up finding a lady who's actually also breaking into the museum. And through some checkmate, Cameron has actually made Emily Ann, or EA, break them in to the museum. And once they're inside, some stuff's starting to happen. And they go, you know what? We should probably stick with her so we stay safe. And that kind of leads to them going into the depths of Soracor.
Dun dun dun.
Nefarious music, please.
So we good to go then?
I love the hair.
All right.
It's
I'm
so
going to
fun.
start. And this is it starts at chapter 5. So an awkward silence filled the 4-floor descent. The teenagers stood next to each other on one side of the elevator. On the other, Emily Ann reloaded her tranquilizer gun. Vivian needed answers. The woman they had inadvertently joined didn't seem like a bad person, and yet EA's vague nature still kept her on her toes. Viv couldn't judge, though, since they had also broken in and entered alongside her. As for every time Cameron wanted to inquire more, he opted to bite his tongue. The ominous elevator door slid open. Another barren hallway stood before them. EA took the first wary step out.
Should only be one way to go from here.
How do you know this place so well?
Viv took it upon herself to learn more.
Did you work here before?
Not me, but someone in my family used to.
EA broke into a brisk stroll as the duffel bag bounced against her hip. The closer they got to the end of the single hall, the faster her pace became.
Took me 3 months to prep for this.
We definitely ruined things for you then.
Cam quipped, keeping up with her. EA chuckled at the ridiculousness of it all.
I mean, Viv's fine. I could have done without you and your smart mouth, though.
Okay, that's enough.
Viv came to a halt. The banter had finally reached her threshold.
Somehow, all of us have to find a way to get along, whether we like it or not.
A few feet ahead of them, a reluctant EA also stopped. On Viv's right, Cam gave her a sheepish glance.
And now we're all on some insane random mission under some dinosaur museum.
Viv summed up, getting more riled up as she spoke.
Now, I, for one, had hoped to make it to my graduation.
She turned toward the still somewhat secretive EA.
But the more we head toward whatever it is you're bent on getting or doing, the more I feel like Cameron and I may not even get to see that day.
With his fingers folded behind his neck, Cam removed his left hand to point at his friend.
She makes a fair point.
Cameron,
Viv whipped her gaze to him next.
you're my best friend. Having said that, you need to tone it down, at least until we get out of this mess.
It had been a long time since he'd seen her so stressed out. As soon as her anxious teal eyes bored into his, he almost became speechless.
Okay.
Ready to keep moving, EA raised an eyebrow at them.
You two have something really special.
Cam whipped a denying glare at EA. Viv, on the other hand, blushed and looked down at her robes. EA put her hands up in defeat at their different responses.
Sorry, thought you guys were a thing.
We've known each other since we were toddlers.
He explained, giving Viv a one-arm squeeze.
But we're not together.
Gotcha.
With the more pressing matter returning priority, EA swirled back around and continued marching. As they passed by more security cameras, she couldn't shake an increasing worry in the back of her mind.
Something is wrong. But what?
It wasn't until the halfway mark down the hall that Cam noticed another odd thing. Other than double doors at the end, no other doors lined the taupe walls. No windows either. He turned to Viv on his left.
What do you think they do down here?
Who knows?
What EA had warned about earlier kept ringing in her ears.
All I hope is that we get home safe.
Maybe they're trying to bring dinosaurs back to life, mosquito and amber style?
She smirked.
I've been waiting for a Jurassic Park reference.
EA came within 10 feet of the end. Once the double doors became clear, her eyes opened wide.
No.
The single word made Cam and Viv snap to attention.
No.
Jittery hands opened her duffel bag as EA plopped it on the floor beside the right-hand door.
I need blueprints. They must have changed the setup from the original blueprints.
Viv came to her side.
What's the problem?
There's no code to read.
EA's voice shook, having no idea of what to fish for in her bag.
There should be a code activator, but there's nothing here.
As he surveyed the doors, Cam stepped forward.
Maybe there's another way in.
He referred to his movie knowledge.
Is there a floor tile that looks off from the others?
Viv rolled her eyes and chuckled.
Check for a candle to pull out and put back, too.
If only Gene Wilder were here.
Cam chuckled in reply.
You two need to...
EA couldn't finish as tears took over her face. She'd come so close.
Please stop with the stupid references.
Both teenagers refrained from making any response. Viv's empathy kicked in as she crouched beside her.
Emily Ann, what's really going on here?
Sniffles preceded EA's reply as she wiped her cheeks.
I came here to fight.
The double doors unlocked from the inside with a heavy mechanical click. As if in slow motion, what seemed like the end of their journey opened up into the room, the size of an airplane hangar. Electrical noises crackled from somewhere inside, though they couldn't see the source from behind a reinforced, mostly solid steel gate with foot-tall bars lining the bottom of it. The bars allowed brilliant flashes of bluish light to trickle through.
What the?
Completely bewildered, Cam glanced down at the ladies in trepidation.
This.
EA rose to her feet.
Wait, I wasn't expecting this.
Viv squinted at her.
Wasn't?
The unknown of the room pulled all three of them into its clutches. None of them could take their eyes off the odd gate, which spanned the entire width of the chamber. Large bolts kept it upright and attached to raw rock walls, which lined the entirety of the area. A 30-foot wide door sat in the middle of the stainless steel that reached up to the 50-foot ceiling.
What exactly were you expecting?
Viv somehow pulled her full attention away from the zaps and pops from beyond the steel. EA went over everything in her head. The plan had been set. She'd made it to the end.
I thought.
Miss Lewis,
A man's voice from behind them.
it's about time you arrived.
And then we jump on to chapter 6. Security guards rushed in and took up positions along the entrance wall. They pointed their rifles at the three intruders who huddled together. Dressed in a navy blue suit and matching blue necktie, the man who'd spoken also wore a devious grin.
And who are your two little friends?
Get behind me.
Emily Ann instructed the teenagers. Duffel bag still slung over her right shoulder. She held a tranquilizer gun up in defense.
Leave them out of it.
Oh, I'm not so sure I can do that.
Hands behind his back, the man took a few intimidating steps closer. His dark beard had been trimmed with crisp lines. The 30-something's sharp style made him out to be a man of image and power.
Now that they've seen this room, they may just have to suffer the same consequences as you.
Vivian shoved herself into Cameron's arms.
Hey,
Cam gave her a reassuring squeeze.
I've got you.
You would do something to a couple of kids?
EA scoffed, disturbed by the idea.
Who do you think you are?
A sinister chuckle came from the suited man, who combed his fingers through his coffee-brown hair.
You study this place for 3 months, yet you don't research the ones who built the empire?
Don't like to spend too much time on scum.
The man burst into disturbing laughter. After being entertained, he rubbed his hands together.
Name Sharp. Sebastian Sharp.
Cam couldn't help but smirk.
Did he just introduce himself like Bond?
Quiet, Cam.
Viv didn't want things to get worse. Recollection came over EA as she gripped her gun even harder.
Sharp, you disgusting piece of...
Whoa, Miss Lewis. Not in front of the children now.
Sebastian brought his hands up.
Especially if these are the last words they'll ever hear.
EA stepped forward.
If you even touch them.
You'll tickle us with the tranquilizer gun?
Mr. Sharp strolled a few more feet toward them.
You don't have a killing bone in your body.
With crossed arms, he took in a deep breath while looking her up and down.
But you've got a fire in you.
Only because of what you did.
Extreme revulsion dripped from her lips. At this point in the confrontation, Cameron and Vivian only had more questions. Now wasn't the time to start asking, though.
What I did?
Sebastian's right hand went to his chest.
What I did?
EA finally blurted it out.
What you did to my father.
Cam and Viv stared at each other in shock. Sharp stared EA down as his words came out smooth and precise.
Your father.
Instead of walking toward her, he started to head to the left.
Theodore Lewis. What a brilliant scientist. So full of... What words do kids use these days? Spunk, among other things. Unfortunately, it was that which cost him everything.
He saw what Soraka was willing to do with what they'd found.
EA countered, wishing she had brought a more harmful weapon with her. She could never bring herself to kill anyone. Right now, though, being so close to one of the heads of the company responsible for ruining her family's life, she toyed with reconsidering.
Take me to him, right now.
Ah,
Staring up at the ceiling as he leaned against the reinforced stainless steel semi-caged light gate, Sebastian bobbed his head side to side.
that may be a tad difficult.
Tired of his games, she spit out.
Stop stalling.
Well, absolutely. I can point you in the right direction.
Sebastian pulled out a keycard from his left breast pocket of his tailored jacket.
As for finding him, well, that's going to be all on you.
Cam shouted.
Watch out!
EA shrieked as the tranquilizer gun flew out of her hand as two of the guards seized her by the arms. She immediately responded with flailing kicks and trying to wrench herself free. Mr. Sharp's chit-chat had distracted her from watching her back.
Viv, no!
Cam's fingers slipped away from hers as they were ripped away from each other by Sora Corp's security.
Cameron!
She screamed while being dragged away from him. Infuriated, EA jerked her body to hopefully slip out of the guard's grasp.
Leave those kids alone.
Her left foot swung back, forcibly striking the man's kneecap. As the guard on her left crumbled, the other's face met her with a left hook. Unable to break free from her captors, Viv ceased struggling as she whimpered.
Please let me go.
Getting dock marks by Mr. Richardson had annoyed Cam, but seeing his best friend helpless and crying sparked a rage inside him.
If you hurt her, I swear I'm going to...
Fuck! Wind left his stomach. No thanks to the back end of a rifle. EA turned to save the others.
Don't even try, Miss Lewis.
Still standing by the large metal gate, Sebastian Sharp flicked the keycard between his fingers. 4 more guards encircled her with their weapons pointed and ready.
What are you going to do with them?
EA couldn't see a way out.
I said it before.
Sebastian countered, nonchalant, as he touched the keycard to the reader beside the massive door.
Beep.
On cue.
The same fate as you.
On cue, sorry. The steel door buzzed. Once unlocked, it took 2 other guards on either side to pull it open. The teenagers were hauled over as EA got prodded with the ends of the rifles, as if she were a farm animal. The 3 unlikely allied victims passed the threshold, whether they wanted to or not. A fascinating sight nearly paralyzed each of them. The source of the weird cackles of electricity had been revealed. Vivid, bluish, voltaic light snapped and swirled in a 50-foot circular frame. Limbs of lightning burst outward and inward to its core, creating an ethereal yet threatening aura. Still ensnared at their arms, Cam and Viv managed to gaze over at each other. The fear and awe in their eyes told them they were thinking the same thing.
What the heck is that?
In between the 2 teenagers, EA went from taking in the amazing glow of the churning border of voltage to what seemed to be just beyond it.
That was right all along.
Flora. On her side of the indescribable entity, rock walls, concrete floors, and guards were the environment. Yet, when she gazed through the window-like thing, she noted ferns, trees, and a pristine lake off in the distance.
Beautiful, isn't it?
6 feet behind the captives, Sebastian wore a boyish grin.
Every time I come down here, it never ceases to amaze me.
Is this what I think it is?
By now, a woodland scent had reached EA's nose from the other side of what they were viewing.
Here at Soracor, we simply refer to it as the Rift.
Mr. Sharp drew in a deep breath of delight.
We unearthed this anomaly about 8 years ago, while blasting through all this thick crust around us in the name of archaeological discovery. Who would have thought one of our explosions would rip a hole in, well, The highly theorized space-time continuum. You gotta be kidding me.
Overwhelmed by it all, Cam towed the line of belief.
It's actually a real thing?
Sebastian nodded.
Sure is, kid.
As he paced back and forth, he continued.
The other thing we didn't expect
He paused for dramatic effect.
was how far back into the past it would take us.
Though the rift still made her nervous, EA stepped toward it.
My father, he told me all about this.
He told you about this classified information?
With his hands in his pockets, Sebastian sighed with disappointment.
All the more reason to have banished him those 5 years ago.
EA's heart stopped, or dropped.
Banished?
Small steps turned her around to face the despicable man.
How could you?
Oh, poor Theo. He simply knew too much and tried to stop greatness.
Sebastian continued in a monotonous voice.
We gave him one last shot on a little experiment, and it backfired. Someone died, police got involved. We had to clean up the whole thing. Should have known it was a bad idea in the first place, but oh well. It's too bad we couldn't use a rift to go back to that moment and stop it all from happening.
Fury engulfed EA's stare, removing all care about the guards as she marched forward.
I'm going to kill you.
Throw them in.
Mr. Sharp ordered, with a raised index finger swirling around in a circle.
All of them.
What?
Vivian's feet shot to life as the guards worked their way toward the window like rift.
You can't. No.
All of Cameron's strength couldn't break the security guard's grasp.
Take your hands off me!
Each of the 4 guards that separated Emily Ann from Sebastian took one of her limbs. As she yelled and screamed, she couldn't accept the fact that her whole plan had fallen apart so quickly. All her research, acquiring equipment, and the vehicle, all for nothing. A hard heave sent Cam flying up and over the rim of surging space-time. Next in line, Viv's last squirm failed to thwart her captors. Another toss, another one through. Defenseless, EA wished she could close her ears as the insidious crackling noise grew louder. Not only would she become the victim of them, but she had also sent 2 young people into the rift's otherworldly clutches.
One more thing before you go.
Sebastian strolled over, calm and collected.
Watch out for the bugs. That was awesome,
Nice.
guys.
Good job.
Wow, that was action packed. Lots of great
That was,
information
yes.
there too. There was so much going on.
I had a lot of fun writing that scene.
Yeah, I can imagine.
Sebastian's one of my actually one of my favorite villains to write too.
I was thinking he's a great villain. I really like him.
Yeah, you later in the book he has some thoughts that maybe he's doing the wrong thing, but I'll leave that there and not get into spoilers.
Welcome, Tempest and Jade Publishing.
Hello, hello.
Hi everyone.
No, that was
Hi,
great.
Anita.
Derek. Thank you
Hello,
for sharing
Anita.
it with us. We've been looking forward to
Yeah.
that for the last 5 weeks, so that's great. It's nice to finally
It was-
have you on here. And so, people, are you wide? Are you exclusive to Amazon? Where can people find your books?
So the Superhero Spy series is on Amazon only. The Dino Rift series, I decided to see if I could take that wide. I haven't gotten too many sales going wide with it, but there's a few. So
Yeah.
just got to get the word out there more, I guess.
Yeah, for sure.
Sure.
It's a slow process for sure. Yeah.
But it was either that scene or it was going to be the scene where EA is getting dragged back to a giant millipede's underground home.
See, Dave would love in a millipede. That would have been fun watching.
Yeah, there you go.
Oh, millipede would have been, yeah, that would have been crazy. Yeah.
You
I
probably
even
did-
describe it as
Time
it's
to tie up all your shoes.
yeah. I even describe it as its pincers are like barbecue tongs, so that would have been interesting to see.
Oh, there you go. Yeah. That was an easy prop right there.
I can see it.
Yeah. Okay, so that was it. Is that Dino Rift? Is that the name of that book? Or
That's Dino Rift, yeah.
okay, so from Derek Borne. So now we're going to jump into David Kelly's book. If you want to set it up, Dave, and let us know the
I'll
book
be
you're
back.
reading. Bill.
Sure. So this scene is a little bit later on in the book. It's about the third or fourth chapter, I think. I don't know, 6. It's down here. I've got it written down, which would have been helpful if I'd read that first, wouldn't it? So basically, at this point, Joe's one of Joe's passengers. He drives flying cabs in Baltimore in the future. One of his passengers basically took a plunge off the top of a high-story building and died. And the police think that maybe he was responsible for this. So he's now at work the following day, and 2 cops have turned up to question him further about this. They had to let him go because although they think he might be guilty, they couldn't actually pin anything on him. Since then, they've discovered that the surveillance systems around the building blanked out the moment that Joe's cab entered the area. So they're thinking maybe they were wrong and that they should have arrested him. They've arrived at the cab company where he works to interview him. And just before they arrived, a young co-worker of the dead man arrived and accused Joe of murder. And he's got her hidden in the room next door while they're talking to the police in the next room. So I'm going to be playing Joe and doing the narration. Dolly is going to be Christy. Derek is going to be one of the cops, Sterl, who's like the lead cop, and Richard is going to be Francis, who's a younger, kind of not very nice cop. Non-uniformed. I'll add.
Oh, that was great.
I was going to ask where you got that.
Don't ask.
I love it.
Okay.
I changed into a roughly dressed to be Dolly, but you can't see the ruffles. So just imagine ruffles.
No.
But you're gonna
Ruffles. Yeah.
You look lovely.
Okay.
No, thanks. I'll accept it. He's talking to Richard, though, not me.
Both.
Oh my God. We good?
Oh yeah.
Okay. So here we go. I moved to the other door and opened it firmly, with far more bravado than I felt. The cops were waiting for me like a pair of terriers looking for a fight. One cautious, looking for an opening, the other far too eager and excitable, both with a potentially deadly bite.
Hello again, Joe. Sorry to bother you again, especially at work. Have a seat, why don't you?
Yeah. Have a seat.
Francis barely held back an insult.
We're all friends.
I slipped into one of the chairs by the card table in the middle of the room, and Francis sidled behind me, deliberately positioning himself between me and the door. I'd rather have wrestled a medium-sized Kodiak bear than sit down with these two, but I didn't have much choice. I'm surprised you find me so fascinating. I leaned back in the chair, not wanting to display the weakness tingling through my legs. Like all predators, cops can smell fear. Seems to me a suicide wouldn't be this interesting. Is Detective Francis still searching for a date? Or you think I had something to do with it?
You're such a smart guy, Bellin. I like smart guys. They have so much fun when we lock them up. Ain't that right, Jimmy?
You could try to be a little more cooperative, Joe. Looks like we're dealing with a murder.
The news wasn't exactly earth-shattering. What I couldn't understand was why the police were lining me up in their sights. I was by my cab when the fat guy decided to step outside without the benefit of a building. Shouldn't take you longer than 30 minutes to check Argus. Don't they teach the basics in police school anymore? Or did you guys not graduate?
You're well informed, Bellin.
Francis moved up behind me. his breath hot and damp on the back of my neck.
How'd you like to take a ride out the window?
Keep trying to stick your tongue in my ear and you might persuade me to jump without any help. I kept my eyes firmly on Sterl, knowing I probably shouldn't go to cop, but blusterers like Francis bring out the worst in me. You need to get your buddy a leash or buy him some breath mints. The chair hinged backwards, and the next thing I know, my head cracked against the floor. The rubberized coating provided virtually no cushioning to the blow. Francis loomed over me, his snarling features blurred as my eyes tried to refocus after the impact.
That's enough, Dan.
Still's voice pushed through the mush of my thoughts only vaguely, as if I was hearing him while wearing a pea suit. His words were followed by a series of muffled noises I couldn't identify. Then I felt hands tugging on the arm that had taken the brunt of the damage last night. I lashed out with my good arm, feeling a soft but satisfying thud as I connected with something fleshy. In the condition I was in, it probably didn't as much damage as a bug hitting the front of my cab, but at least I'd fulfilled my obligation as a warrior.
Filing a complaint. You can't come in here and abuse my staff for no reason.
I recognized Dolly's voice, but my vision refocused slowly.
There's no need to take that kind of attitude, miss. It was an accident. Mr. Ballon got a little agitated and fell off his chair.
Francis' voice was nauseating in its sliminess. I'd have been happy to introduce him to a falling chair if I'd been able to do anything more than groan in pain. I levered myself up from the floor and pulled myself up, then slumped heavily into the chair, not missing the irony that someone had set it back on its feet while leaving me to flop helplessly on the ground. Dolly, make a copy of the security records, please. I wouldn't want the evidence of my fall to get lost.
You okay, Joe?
The concern in Dolly's voice wasn't just because the office had no built-in recording system.
I'm not sure I...
Just do it. I'll be fine.
Don't touch him again.
She dropped her voice register down an entire octave, and the words came out as if she'd spoken from the depths of Sheol. She won't bite unless I ask her to. Do you want to leave now, or would you like to rough me up some more before the cameras?
I'm genuinely sorry about that, Joe. It won't happen again.
And I'm supposed to trust you?
I don't see any cameras.
I'm sure someone with your professional qualifications know how easy it is to hide optical pickups.
Funny, that's pretty much what brings us here, Joe. See, we checked the Argus records, and guess what we found?
The way my luck was playing, I could half guess. Footage of your partner beating a suspect with a rubber hose?
The interesting thing is that the records don't show anything for half a dozen blocks around the Gans apartment. Nothing at all. For exactly 17 minutes, Argus didn't see anything in that area. There are 123 cameras there, Joe, and not one of them recorded anything. Any idea how unusual that is?
The Argus project used a saturation of cheap optical pickups linked to some of the most powerful computer systems ever built. With the advent of cheap quantum processors and nanocore storage, the system recorded every movement made by everyone and everything. Big Brother wasn't only watching, he remembered everything too. This torrent of data provided a three-dimensional real-time recording of what people had done in any given area and had finally brought crime under control. The system was sealed, redundant, and self-healing. It was inconceivable it would fail, and if it did, the failure would be headline news for at least a week.
There's something else, Joe. Guess when the data stopped recording?
Yeah, the recording cut out the exact time your cab entered that zone. How do you explain that, Mr. Stimboy?
The chances of that happening were virtually zero. but I certainly hadn't shut it down. I could think of a couple of ways it might be done, but only theoretically. It felt like I'd been thrown in a pit and a large stone slab was being lowered on top of me.
Do you know how many violent crimes there were in Baltimore before Argus? Over 30,000. Within 3 years of its introduction, that number dropped to less than 10,000. And now we're talking hundreds, most of them domestic incidents. The city was dying, like a lot of places, sinking under the weight of its own filth and scum. But we pulled it back. We made it a place where it was safe to be normal again. Safe to raise a family and have a job. That's what Argus gives us. Knowledge is power. The power to record crimes and punish those who commit them.
It was a story that had the dust blown off it whenever any makeshift libertarians raised protests against total surveillance. If you're innocent, you've nothing to hide. They were even bringing internal building security under the Argus umbrella, so events inside private buildings would be recorded. But freedom was an excessive price to pay in the name of security. If Argus failed, then you got nothing on me. So arrest me or let me get on with my job.
You wouldn't mind if we checked over that bug of yours, would you, Balin?
Check anything you like. Just make sure you clear it with Miss Bunting before you start tearing up her property.
She was quick to run in here. Huh. You involved with her, Balin? What's she want anything to do with an insect like you? I can't imagine.
I turned to look at Francis for the first time since I'd recovered. Something in his voice told me he wasn't asking purely for the sake of his investigation. If you're interested, let the lady know. But most guys find she's quite a handful.
A woman needs a real man to take care of her. Not a stim boy who can't get it up without a bunch of wires.
Drop the insults, Dan.
Still sounded as if he felt the same way about his partner I did.
We're here on business.
Sure. Where's your cab now?
In the hands of the auto drones getting its mandated daily service. You better be quick. They clean the cars pretty thoroughly.
What?
Francis jerked up like he was wired to the mains and someone had pulled the switch. He bolted through the door without another word.
You know, I almost believed you until this.
Ever heard of coincidence?
Coincidence only means you haven't figured out the real cause yet.
Still marched out, following Francis' track so quickly I felt like a piece of unwanted gristle left on the plate. Whatever they thought they'd find wasn't going to be in my cab. Not after the drones had finished. Their next step would be to impound the cleaning waste and work through that, which would at least give me some breathing room. I couldn't figure out how Argus could be out of action right at the moment I was dropping off GANs. The idea that a section of one of the most efficient security monitoring systems ever invented would go offline at the exact moment that a violent incident took place didn't hold up. But either I was guilty and didn't know it, or that's what happened. One thing was certain. If they wanted to, they'd find a way of dragging me in for a long interrogation, the kind that ends up with people confessing regardless of their guilt.
Balin, what the hell are you up to? I don't like this one tiny bit.
Hold on, Dolly. My last fare of the night jumped from a building and the cops think I'm involved.
But that's impossible. Surely Argus shows.
Watching Dolly chewing her lip in thought is one of the most stimulating experiences in the world. Her perfect lips made it a more seductive experience than some dates I'd been on. But right now, I needed action. I don't have time to explain. The girl in the other room knew the dead guy. I need to get her out of here.
I don't know, Joe. Gee, if only you showed a girl some appreciation sometime.
I'll make it up to you, Dolly. I still walked back into the lobby with Francis scrambling behind him like a gun dog looking for a piece of wounded game. He didn't look pleased, and I could guess why.
Your drones empty everything into a collective garbage chute servicing this entire building.
He said.
26 floors of garbage collected in one spot, ready to be compacted and taken away. That was almost a neat trick you pulled there, Stim Boy.
Did you know that, Joe? Any idea how long it's going to take to sift through 3.5 tons of garbage?
Long enough for Detective Francis to find his balls? I tried to block the punch, but my arm had no strength to counter the blow. Francis's fist stabbed deep into my stomach, making me retch and sink to my knees.
That's enough.
I'm calling the police.
We are the police. You've seen our ID.
I'm calling the real police.
The last thing I needed was more of these official clowns, and I struggled to my feet, ignoring the pain burning in the pit of my stomach. It's okay, Dolly. I'm fine. Detective Francis doesn't punch any better than he thinks.
Knock off the insults, Joe. Let's keep this professional, okay?
Tell that to your pet Neanderthal.
Joe, are you sure you don't?
I'm going to talk a little longer with these officers, and then they're going to leave. Isn't that right, Detective Stirl?
Sure thing, Joe.
Take care of things for me out there, Dolly. I'll have this straightened out in a few minutes. I grabbed my coffee from the table and stood with my back to the window while Stirl and his buddy closed the door and sat down. I might look stupid, but I wasn't about to let Francis get behind me again. Okay, if you guys want to switch on your Argus recorder, go ahead. Presumably one of you was smart enough to bring a true or false, so you might as well switch that on too. I drive cabs for a living. It's not much, but it's what I do, and it ends there. Last night, I picked up a fare outside the case. I'd officially clocked off for the night, but maybe he didn't see my light was out or didn't care. He seemed kind of lost, which normally wouldn't matter much to me. He was way too big to deal with on my own, so I decided the easiest way to get rid of him was to take him where he wanted to go. When he arrived, he had no money and said he'd go get some cash. I figured it was a scam. Who has cash? But I waited in case. I don't like non-payers, and my boss makes us pay for any losses. Next thing I knew, he made a hole in the pavement big enough to park it. I never saw the guy before last night. I have no connection with him, and I know nothing about him other than what I told you and seen in the news. End of story. They didn't move for several minutes, and I thought that maybe the true or false had picked something up. You can only pack so much intelligence into something the size of a pen.
You know something? As much as this new technology helps us, it's not infallible. I still believe in good old-fashioned detective work. My superiors don't like it when I say things like that. They're always pushing for more enforcement tech. The more tech you use, the bigger the budget you can claim. That never seemed right to me. People are what's important. You can't measure someone's value or what drives them with a machine. At the moment, you look clean. This thing smells, though, and we're going to check every lead. You better pray you are clean. If not, I'll take great pleasure in sending you down.
One thing, still.
What's that?
Did the dead guy have my $55 on him?
Just hope we don't need to see you again. You don't want that.
Dolly was at the desk when I limped out. I was battered, bruised, and generally messed up. A few years ago, I'd have taken the punishment and got back up with a smile on my face. But now, I was a pile of fractured parts held together with string and tape.
Those cops didn't look happy, Joe. Don't worry. Charlie got your girlfriend out of here.
I swear I'm innocent on all counts. I never met her before, and I hope I never do again.
Are you going to see me later, soldier? I promise you a wild ride. Won't even cost you a coffee.
Under her warm, breathy words ran a current of pure liquid nitrogen that triggered warning lights in my mind as if I'd lost the stabilizing thruster. I'll do what I can. I tried to sound non-committal, but Dolly's smile told me I probably didn't succeed. I'm down on time today. I better do some catch-up. I hurried to my car before Dolly thought of a more personal way of me catching up. Thank you.
Awesome.
Thank you, everyone.
That was good.
That was really great. So much
I
excitement.
love a good crime drama.
Yeah, we had some noir cop going on there too. That was fun.
Sorry, my earbud fell out at one point. If it made noise.
Thanks for catching the line that I'd not marked, Derek.
That's okay.
It's like I'm looking at this, I'm reading through it, and it's like, oh crap, I haven't marked that.
Happens to all of us. Yeah. That was great. That was really
We had some comments come in before I guess as we started going there, so I'll just throw them up there too.
I think they were laughing at your mustache.
Well, no, actually,
mustache.
Derek, if you make it out to one of the two markets, bring me that book so I
saw
can
that.
buy it from you. And bring
See
me
what I
one
can
too.
do.
Bring me one too. I need to add it to the Library Hall of Fame so we can have a Derek Borne in the library.
Ah. All right.
So there you go. It'll pay for
You
your
have to
gas.
order more copies.
Absolutely.
Oh, these are lovely.
Yeah. I've actually been selling copies at the store that I work at.
Oh, that's awesome.
And my dad, I was off yesterday, and my dad texted me saying, "I just sold 2 more of your books."
Wow,
Nice.
that's so cool.
So yeah,
Nice-
I sell a
nice
fair
to
bit
have
with
you.
the customers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, that's great.
Every opportunity. That's great.
Yeah, and there's some that they'll ask me. They're like, "So what did you do to publish?" And I kind of tell them my story, and they go, "Wow, that's actually like really inspiring."
That's so
Because
nice.
some people think it's just so difficult and hard just to sit down and write a book. It is hard work.
Sure.
Don't get me wrong, but anyone can still do it. Like we all have a story inside of us, right?
Sure. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So
I think the
Dave,
biggest,
sorry, Dave, I don't hate to cut you off. You can continue on with what you're going to say anyway, but let us know where we can find your books as well. So we read from you today too, as well. So.
Oh, sure. My books are available wide, so you can get them from Amazon, Kobo, wherever, anywhere and everywhere, or you can get them signed through me directly on my site if you go to davidmkelly.com.
That's www. Do you guys have access to writing that stuff in anymore? You guys are so.
No.
Oh, that's a shame because you guys are so good at doing that.
It's all on you, Richard.
Oh yeah. Great. Okay, go ahead with what else you're going to say there, Dave, and I'll try and get this done here.
I forgot what I was going to say.
Now you're gonna have to hurry, Richard.
Oh, nice.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah. No, I can't remember what I was going to say.
Derek, you're actually, for both of you, you both have series, right? This is like, just to make it clear. I think Derek, do you have 2 now or 3 already published in the series?
So for the superhero series is technically 10 books. 7 of them are novellas. Dino Rift and Sorkor Salvation is technically a duology because it's the start and end of Cam and Viv's story. The other ones that I'm working on in that corner of my universe, though, is going to introduce some new characters, still see a couple of older characters, but it's going to be fun because I have one where there's a girl in Texas and her father's part of the cartel, which the cartel is also part of Sorkor deals, trying to get dinosaurs spread all over the world kind of thing. Like humans, if we had access to dinosaurs, these are the things we would do.
Right, yeah.
They would be sold on black market, kind of like what we saw in Jurassic World Dominion, just things like that. And what was really fun is near the end of Dino Rift, there's a part where time rifts are kind of going off all over the place. They're just getting more unstable. And I thought, what if I start this one book with this girl, Luz, going through a time rift all of a sudden. She's in the prehistoric times, and she passes what's happening in that scene at the end of near the end of Dino Rift, and then pops out the other side of another time rift. She's still in her own time, but way far away from home.
That's a cool idea.
So you're getting you're getting the action of what the heck's going on. But for people who are my longtime readers, they'll read it and go, "Oh, he went back there."
Yeah, they'll love that. Oh, they'll love that.
So I love doing stuff like that.
Yeah, that's neat.
Yeah.
For sure. So I guess I'll introduce next month's author first before we say goodbye. We're going to have Miranda O on, and she's, as far as I can tell, and from her excerpt, she's already submitted her excerpt. It's kind of a spicy romance author, but we won't get too spicy on our show because we're kind of a G-rated show. So we kind of tamed it down.
PG-13?
What's that? Do you edit Miranda stuff, Christy?
Yeah, not the first book, but the other books after that I have. Yeah.
So how would you describe her writing? Is she a spicy romance author?
It's not really spicy romance. It's more like rom-com, and it's a lot of like, I don't want to say women's issues as in like serious. She keeps everything super light, but it's all like woman's world type of stuff, but with a lot of humor and lightness and, just fun, I would say.
Yeah.
So, but there are serious issues in it too.
Okay, so that's fun. So we look forward to Miranda O. She's going to join us on Tuesday, May 9th at 8 o'clock.
I'll be breaking the wig out again then.
Yes. Hopefully she gave you something really. I'm not even going to go there, but I will also be reading an excerpt from one of my books, and I haven't decided which one I want to read yet. But I'm leaning toward dusting off one of my earlier works and saying hello to some characters that I've. And that's the thing, we were talking about this earlier, Dave, about Joe Bellin, where you get so tired of it after, he's run his course. And then you look back years later and go, I miss those guys. And I've had people ask me, am I going to continue slurring the story? I don't really have any plans to continue slurring the story. It ended, but, my brain started spinning. Maybe I could continue slurring the story, but I've got too much to write right now, so I can't really think about that. But they're almost
it's
like
hard ending a series, though, isn't it?
Yeah.
What's that?
It's hard ending a series or even like a character's arc.
Yeah.
It is, but it's at that point it's time to move on because you get other ideas in your head. Every time I write a book, I've got two more in my head, and I want to get to those. I want to stop on it. I want to George R. Martin my current book and write something different. But I don't want to leave my readers hanging, so I don't.
Yeah. Because I found Dino Rift was supposed to be a standalone.
Right. I remember that.
And I said goodbye to Cam and Viv. I thought, this is it. And then everyone's like, well, there's going to be another one, right? And I thought, well, okay, yeah, I guess there's a way I could take it. So I had to say hello again. And then by the end of Sword Course Salvation, I just went, okay, I'm saying goodbye for a second time now because I don't think I can do any more. So.
But that's a compliment to you when they ask if there's another one. That means they liked it and they want to see more. So they wouldn't bother saying that.
It was almost like reopening the wound, though. He said goodbye, and then all of a sudden, oh, well, okay. Hello again.
That's true. Sorry, guys, I'm back.
I mean, with the Joe Ballin series, I mean, I never, from book to book, I never knew there was going to be another one. It's like each time I finished it, it's like before I finished editing it, the next book had come to me, but up until that point, I was just focused on writing the book, and I couldn't have told you if there was going to be another one. They could have all ended up dead at the end of book 2, and it's like, I don't know. But it went on. So 4 books. I mean, one of the big difficulties with Joe Ballin is because there's so many kind of like quips and snarky remarks and what I mean, it really becomes quite difficult to think of new ones. Something when you've got 3 novels full of snarky comments and what have you. It's like just coming up with something original gets really tough.
So do you try these out on your wife first?
Well, only during beatings and things like that.
They precede the beatings,
yeah.
So one thing I wanted to ask before we go, and I'm sure we've all done this, and I see so many things on social media about killing off characters, and you see some authors they laugh and they show and there's bodies everywhere in the meme or however you say that word, do you enjoy killing off a character? or does it make you sad? Like, how does it affect you? Like, and I'm talking about a character that you've grown fond of. So, there are some characters that you write them in the scene because that's their job in your book is to die. So, in a lot of stories, but do you struggle with killing off characters, or it's just part of the job?
You don't want to fridge a character. That term fridging, I don't know if you've heard of that.
Mm-mm.
So basically, like when you look at, sorry if anyone hasn't seen Avengers Endgame, but when they killed off Black Widow to get the men to rally, that's called fridging. The death always has to serve true purpose to the plot. You don't want to kill a character just to do it, right? It has to have the meaning. I find for me personally, though, as killing the author has to serve the purpose, but I find it harder writing the grief of the characters,
Right.
that then have to actually try to get through their day.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's tough because you don't want to, as an author, you don't want to sit there and just spend the next couple of chapters of him just moping around, because that's not really riveting storytelling. But realistically, they're going to be very much affected by what just happened. So, you want to get that point across to the reader and move the story along at the same time. So it's tough. But does it bother you to kill the character off?
Sometimes.
No.
Yeah, sometimes. For me, it does sometimes. I mean, I the way I kind of approach it is, I've heard of the fridging term that Derek used, so I definitely try and avoid that. But what I actually try and do is, like any character who does end up dying in one of my stories, I try to give them some reason to be there other than just dying.
Being a red shirt.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like, so I try to make
it,
even if the character is kind of not necessarily a good character, I try to give them some life of their own that makes them interesting and worth being there, so that when they do die, the reader actually kind of feels that. And they, I've had a couple of people say this to me. They say, it's like your characters, even when they're kind of small, they're always kind of three-dimensional. They're not just kind of flat. Like you say, the red shirt idea. And I think that's very important. It's so easy to just throw somebody in and then throw them out again. Like they do on TV so much. They introduce this new character for one episode, and then at the end, they get shot by the villain or whatever, and it's and they're just gone, and it doesn't matter, and it's I just think that's a real kind of tragedy to in a book, at least, to use a character in such a narrow fashion.
How about you, Christy? Does it bother you, or do you look forward to it?
It depends on the character. It really depends on the character. There's been a character that I killed that was horrible anyway. So, she's just a bad person. And then, in my second book, I killed someone. I won't say who in case you haven't read it, but everyone messages me about that, really upset. And it was really hard for me too. I knew it had to happen for the rest of the book to be the way it was, and for the rest of the characters to be the way they continue. But yeah, I definitely took some time. I felt terrible. I hated it. But it was what, had to be done in the story. So it really depends on the character for me.
I remember struggling in my first series. I felt, for some reason, the king had to die. And so I actually polled online. I did an online poll. Did we kill the king?
Really?
And yeah, it was interesting. But anyway, so the king dies. But something happened. Everyone knows the story that knows me, that I wrote this series over 35 years, and I always knew the ending, right from day one. When I was 17 years old, I knew how it was going to end, and I didn't finish that book actually till I was 53. And halfway around my age 52, one of the main characters who was integral to the end of the whole storyline, did something so bizarre that he died. And he was not supposed to do that, because he's supposed to hang around to the end of my book. But the story told me that he has to die here.
That's the thing, yeah.
And I remember staring at my computer screen. I can't believe I did that, because now I don't have an ending. And it was such a weird thing. And actually, because he died, it opened up my whole universe. So my Soulforge Saga trilogy turned into this now on this 15th book. and there's another 25 to come probably at least. So his death just was the catalyst of opening my whole universe up. It was really bizarre. Yeah.
In the second of the Joe Ballon books, like at the end of that, I kill off one of the major characters, or I did originally kill off one of the major characters, and my wife and my editor both told me no way. And so I ended up changing the whole ending of the book, which completely threw out the third book, which I was 3/4 of the way through writing, and so I scrapped that and had to start again.
Oh my God. So is that like the 70,000 words or something like that?
Yeah. I was about 70,000 words into it.
Oh.
No.
So the bottom line is, as authors, the death of some characters really affect what we do, how we feel, change the storyline. Is quite amazing, the journey of being an author, and how your characters become real people in your head, and you get invested in them, and it's sometimes tough to say goodbye to them, whether it's the end of the series or whether it's the end of their life. It's
that particular one, I mean, that was really kind of like
a goosebumps.
For me personally, it was very traumatic, because it's like, I mean, I really liked the character that I killed off, and then, like, I mean, well, Hillary, she was in tears. She was like, I thought she was going to divorce me or something.
Well, my narrator, I have a narrator that narrated it, and he sent me an Instagram of him trying to read that scene where that guy died. So he narrated the series, and he got to this. He was so invested in my characters because he voices them, and he puts his feelings into my characters. And he was like me, like, we love this character, it's so cool. And next thing you know, this character dies, and he was in tears. He was actually trying to read and narrate, and he's showing himself bawling as he's trying to narrate. So he thought it was so cool that it moved him so much that he actually posted on Instagram. I thought it was so cool.
It's really something.
Yeah, so it really affects everybody. That's for sure.
I find I cry more when I'm writing the grief.
Oh, interesting. That's interesting.
Because even with my superhero series, the two main characters, when they get to the end and they've already lost a close friend, there's a scene where they're watching a video from a file, and it's the person that they lost.
That's painful.
And I found writing that scene especially, I couldn't write for a week after I wrote that scene. Like, it was just, when you have that person in your life that you look up to so much, and like, this was even before I lost like really close family and stuff, but sometimes the grief just pulls it out of you. And I'm excited for one of my books that's upcoming, actually the one with the girl that goes through the time rift on her bike. That book is going to deal a lot with grief, because I think there needs to be also more young adult books, for ones that are younger that maybe haven't gone through grief, or maybe have gone through grief, and how different people go through grief. Because myself, I need people around me. My wife, she's like, go away, I need time for myself.
Sure, yeah.
Like, everyone does it differently, right?
Yeah.
And I'm very excited to go from her perspective, because she ends up meeting a widower that looks after a farm, and then he decides to take on time displaced dinosaurs on his farm to kind of fill that void.
That's nice.
But then you've got Soracor that's like saying, okay, the dinosaurs are on your land, but ethically speaking, they don't belong to you. We have to take them from you. So the owner's going to be like, well, no, they're on my land. Like, where's the line, right? And then there's going to be a character working for Soracor that's trying to prove herself because she's also lost her mother.
There's a lot of angles.
So you've got, a lot of different angles of grief. So it's, it might be a very tough book to write, but
a lot of weeks off.
Yeah.
Sorry, I didn't mean to take us down this rabbit hole of killing off characters. I was just something you said that spurred that. But
good.
So thanks again, Derek, for joining us tonight. And I want you to know that you are officially part of our longest live video cast to date. We've had trouble on a couple video casts. I think our last one we had trouble starting, and this one's on that. So congratulations.
Just call me Captain Digression.
Yeah. But thank you for joining us, and thank you for sharing your stories with us. And we look forward to seeing you online, and I look forward to seeing you in person even more. So hopefully we can see you at one of these events sometime this year.
We will see, hopefully.
Awesome. And thank you, David, for sharing your story with us today, and Christy for dressing up and doing such a great job like you normally do. And again, we will be back on May 9th with Miranda O, who is our romance comedy author. And hopefully we give Dave a nice role where he can wear his wig again. So until we all meet again next month, take good care.
Bye now.
Enjoy
Bye.
the nice weather's coming.
Bye-bye.